In 2021, the taiga hermit Agafya Lykova underwent several global changes in her life. Let's start with the good ones. In the spring of 2021, a wave of indignation erupted on social networks when users were shown the new house of Agafya Lykova, built with the support of Russian billionaire Oleg Deripaska. People confidently declare that the house is not strong, not durable, it is not suitable for the cold Siberian region. Also, many are sure that the bears that often visit the Lykovs hut will be able to easily enter the new hut, since the structure is not very strong and reliable. A wave of indignation also arose over this iron stove, which, according to users, will not be able to heat a house in the severe Siberian frosts that occur in the valley of the Bolshoy-Abakan River, sometimes up to -50 degrees. The following phrases were sounded: beams are not used in cold regions without insulation. Agafya needs a brick oven, not an iron one, since an iron one does not give heat and it is not possible to bake bread on it. The builders have saved the sheet metal under the stove and a fire could break out. The Chinese take out the forest, but Lykova cannot allocate several cubes of forest in the reserve. Is this really so? This export of timber from Russia has nothing to do with Agafya Lykova. The Chinese, on the other hand, do not export forest reserves. They buy it from our Russian loggers, to whom the state allocates plots for felling. The hermit lives in the reserve and no one has the right to make a decision on deforestation in the protected area. And even President Putin has no right to make a decision to bypass this law one time. Further, as we have already said, it is not possible to build a house from a round log, since cutting of trees is prohibited on the territory of the reserve. And heavy round logs can only be brought in by a cargo helicopter. This is a very expensive pleasure. One flight of such a helicopter will cost more than the cost of the whole house. Building materials for the house were delivered by river. First, the wooden house was assembled in Abakan, then the blockhouse was dismantled for delivery to a hard-to-reach area, for the capture of the Lykovs. The building material was lifted to the upper reaches of the river on airboats. In total, it took about 18 flights, because at one time it is possible to transport only 1.5 tons. On March 10, 2021, the hermit's wooden house was consecrated by the primate of the Russian Orthodox Old Rite Church, Metropolitan of Moscow and All Russia Cornelius. The construction of the hut, as well as the trip of the priesthood to Agafya Karpovna, was organized by the Russian entrepreneur and philanthropist Oleg Deripaska. Metropolitan Cornely congratulated Agafya Karpovna on the consecration of the temple and presented two icons. The clergy invited by the taiga hermit were accompanied by the director of the Kakhovsky Nature Reserve Viktor Nepomnyashchi. Earlier, the director of the reserve reported that Lykova wrote a letter to businessman Oleg Deripaska with a request to help in the construction of a new house. The old hut was in poor condition. In turn, the businessman's representative stated that Deripaska agreed to help the hermit. In December, construction began on a new hermitage hut. As for the billionaire Deripaska, the man donated a house to the hermit. Why, as they say, look a gift horse in the mouth. In modern Russia, there have been no tax breaks for charitable donations for a long time. Besides, perhaps billionaire Deripaska has not yet fully completed his intended mission. Perhaps he will supply a wind power generator and solar panels, so that Agafya Lykova's washing machine, microwave oven and an ordinary light bulb burn. That's just a question. Does she need all this? Who has an opinion on this? Please write in the comments under the video. In the summer, a new bathhouse was rebuilt at the hut and a brick oven was laid in the house. The director of the reserve Viktor Nepomnyashchi announced this on Facebook. The bathhouse is small, but it turned out, in my opinion, very nice, wrote the director of the reserve. According to him, Lykova also insulated the house and equipped the cellar. As for the stove, the hermit herself made adjustments to its design. Nepomnyashchi said that the building materials for the stove had to be brought to Lykova's house in 6 passes. In total, 1,500 pieces of bricks and a ton of mortar were used. The work on the home improvement and the sight of the elderly woman was in full swing for almost a month. At the same time, bears periodically visited the builders. Viktor Nepomnyashchi, in particular, said, despite the presence of builders and the work of the tool, for almost 2.5 weeks the bears, who wandered around the garden and kept the builders in a light tone, did not let them relax, Nepomnyashchi said. Agafya Karpovna herself phoned me about this, sending her reserve inspectors as safety net. Now the bad news. Agafya Lykova's house burned down, which was built by her father Karp Osipovich. On September 8, reports that a fire broke out at the hermitage of Agafya Lykova, who lives on the territory of the Kakhovsky Reserve, began to appear. The fire itself occurred on the evening of Tuesday, September 7. Later it turned out that the new house of Agafya Karpovna was not damaged, the roof in the uninhabited old house caught fire. The fire was extinguished by 3 volunteers who were nearby and helped the hermit with the preparations. A large number of messages on various news sites on the internet are devoted to the causes of the fire. Blogger Andrei Bogdanov from Krasnoyarsk is accused. Sites relish this information by linking to each other. Whether the Siberian blogger is really to blame, no one knows. At the same time, there were 4 more people at the capture. Where the others lived is not reported. According to the regional headquarters of the Ministry of Emergency Situations, the cause of the fire was overheating the stoves. The main hearth was on the roof, about 30 square meters were damaged by fire. Agafya Karpovna herself is alive and well, no one was hurt, the animals are safe too, the department said. Lykovs' parents moved to the taiga back in the 1930s. Old believers set up their household far from settlements on the territory of the Kakhovsky Reserve. Agafya Lykova was born on April 17, 1944 in the family of old believers of Chapel Consent, the Lykovs, who were forced to flee to deep forests due to religious persecution, where they lived their entire lives. Agafya's mother, Akulina Karpovna, died in 1961, when Lykova was 17 years old. In 1978, geologists exploring the Siberian expanses during an expedition stumbled upon the capture of the Lykov family, which at that time consisted of 5 people. In 1981, within 3 months, 2 brothers and sister of Agafya Karpovna died. In 1988, her father also died, so she was left completely alone among the endless forest expanses. The woman asked to find her an au pair, as she is experiencing health problems. Those who wanted to help periodically appeared. But people did not stay there. It is quite difficult there, far from civilization. For a long time he lived on the settlement Agafya Sadov, who was once part of a geological expedition, discovered the Lykov family in the taiga. There was no particular help from him, since he was one-legged and in old age. He lived in a nearby hut. Relations between Agafya Lykova and Agafya were not very good. In 2015, Agafya Sadov died. And for the winter of 2020, the son of Agafya Sadov, Nikolai Sadov, came to help the hermit. Nikolai Sadov already lived on the estate of Agafya Lykova and helped her earlier. In recent years, the hermit Agafya Lykova has been assisted by the director of the reserve, Viktor Nepomniachtchi. He brings her medicines and food, brings volunteers to prepare firewood. Who knows the details about this fire? Please write in the comments below the video. We are monitoring this event and will report new facts.
I also ask you to subscribe to the channel.
Press the bell for notifications, rate this video and chat in the comments about the family of famous old believers.
I also ask you to go to other videos about Agafya Lykova,
which you now see in the end screensavers. Thank you all for watching.